Hello, welcome to Sheepdog Says number 101. I'm Sheepdog, and this one's a bit of a random one. It's kind of born out of a conversation with Bosco while I was trying to get him to bed. I don't know who he's been speaking to, but it's quite normal, I guess, for especially boys his age or kids his age to worry about things. We've talked in the past about ghosts and other mythical creatures, but recently he asked a question about aliens, and you kind of look at that sort of question as though you can't say they don't exist because we don't know. You can't say you don't know because then he starts asking more questions. The answer is no one knows. There could be, there probably will be lots of aliens out in space. But then he goes on to this whole topic of what if they want to do this, what if they want to do that. I don't know who he was speaking to, but he went through something like, I want to say 5 or 6 different scenarios with me. And it was interesting because actually, when I was his age, I was petrified about these things too, and I've never really thought about them as an adult. But now I am an adult and he asks me these things. I'm looking at them with the adult sort of mind and thinking, there's no chance of that happening, and I know why now. So I was trying to explain to him why and make him feel better, but I don't think I did a very good job. He still had lots of why questions and what about questions. But his first question was, what if aliens came to Earth and wanted to eat all the people? And I said to him, well, first things first, we know they're not that near, that it's probably going to take a while to get here, because unless they've somehow got flight capabilities that can make them go faster than light, it's going to take at least that long to go from A to B. He's looking at me a bit like I don't know what any of that means, but I carried on with my point to him nonetheless. And I said, well, they'd have to eat while they're on the spaceship. If they can't eat on the spaceship, they can't get here because it takes too long. And if they don't eat that often, or they can go without for that amount of time, then why on earth would they come all the way here and then need to eat all of a sudden? Even if that happened and they came here and they wanted to eat, I've said this before, we are what we eat. So quite frankly, why eat us when everything else that we eat is here in abundance? There'd just be more mouths to feed, basically. I was trying to say to him that if they were trying to eat me, I'd just introduce him to a burger or a cow or a hot dog or whatever. Just say to him, I'd probably show him a rat and say, this is a delicacy on our planet, eat rats. They'd solve our rat problem. They could solve our ant problem. They could eat wasps, whatever. If they're coming all this way to eat humans because they think we're going to be tasty, let's just convince them that if they're that hungry, they can eat rats because they'll probably be all right. And I just don't see it being plausible for someone to be that advanced and that they've run out of food. It just doesn't work. They wouldn't be able to get here without the food in the first place. So I ruled that out. He then wanted to know whether they would come here. I don't know whether he'd seen a film or what, where they were coming to Earth to steal our resources, to use the water or oxygen or something like that. He didn't use these words. He's 5. He doesn't know what oxygen is, but he was basically saying, what if they came to use our, I don't know I can't remember the word he used now, planet, basically. And that led me down the path of, again, I said to him, if they wanted, it was water, I think he said about, because he was saying to me, what if they wanted all the water? And then we didn't have any water for us. And I was just like shaking my head thinking, what the hell? And I said to him, well, there's a moon right on the, going around Jupiter, I think it is. I'm sure it's one of Jupiter's moons. I might have mixed it up with Saturn, but I'm going to go with Jupiter. That is just all ice and water. They think it's got an ocean on it. If somebody was travelling across space and came to Earth and knew they needed water, so they were picking us, why would they not go to that moon that's full of water? Why would they not go to any of the other planets or moons that have water on them? If anything, our water's dirtier than any of the other waters in the galaxy going. If you come to our blooming water, it's going to be plastic bags and stuff in it. So I was explaining to him, there's no need for them to come here. The same goes for oxygen. I'm sure there's planets that will have like frozen oxygen or whatever on them. Metal, pretty much every metal possible is going to be available in the asteroid belt and stuff like that. The point to him was, there's nothing on Earth that they can't get in space, and there'll be more of it in space. Earth would be a small amount of any of these resources comparatively. So, yeah, I was kind of ruling that out. I think all films are failing if they think aliens coming in to eat us or to use our resources. He then wanted to know, what if they caught us all and made us their slaves? Again, I was like, what the hell is this conversation? You know, you're a 5-year-old. What do you know about being enslaved? But I thought to myself, if they've got the capabilities of building spaceships that can fly across the whole of space, in that amount of speed, they've probably heard of automation, they've probably heard of robots, they've probably heard of AI. Why on earth would they need us, these fleshy, lazy little things, to do jobs for them? It just doesn't add up again. So I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I then started thinking about options. I was looking down my list then, and I thought, you get like in Doctor Who, there'll be races where they just want to fight people, they just want to go to war, and I feel like we just wouldn't be a worthy threat. I feel like they wouldn't be interested in fighting us if that's all they were about. And if that's all they were about, then surely they'd have fought other people. So either they've fought other people and wiped them all out and they're just working their way through, which just seems insane. What's the incentive to do that? It takes a lot of resources to do that. They'd be fighting each other, surely, if they hadn't been beaten before now. If they were deciding to pick a fight with us, I guess we just have to roll with it. I was just like, we can't really win. We'd do our best. We'd try nuking them. But ultimately, even if they won, what on earth would they want to do with us? Or why would they want to do it? It doesn't make any sense. There's no incentive for someone to fly that far. The way I worded it to him, because I'm sure we did get onto this, but I said to him, it's the equivalent of us getting on a plane, going to America, and just hitting a random person because we didn't like them. And they'd be like, why did you do that? I think I put this one on him in the conversation, because it was going back and forth after a bit, and I was saying to him, there's no reason any of these things would happen. It was getting the conversation straight in my head is messy because it's kind of unrolling from memory. I tried to note down as much as I could because he was making some really funny points. I said to him, we're more likely to have aliens arrive as explorers who just want to have a look around and see what's what. And he was kind of like, well, what if they don't like what they see? And I thought, well, it's not their place to judge, surely. They can't come here to have a look around and decide, oh, it's a bit untidy, and decide to snuff us out. There is a worry that they'd come here and they'd say, we're having a look around. Have you realised you've enslaved every other animal or plant or whatever on the planet? You probably need to be eradicated. That could be an issue. But I don't see how any race would get to the top if they didn't step on a few people on the way up, and that seems to be what we've done. So, I don't know. Plus, and I didn't make this point to him, but it's a point that I was oddly having in a conversation earlier today. Let's face it, there's more ants than people on the planet anyway, so if aliens arrived, they'd probably want to talk to the ants because they're the dominant species. They live everywhere. Ants, rats, fish, I imagine, certain types, plankton. You know, we're assuming that they'll come for the biggest, tallest, most vocal of us all, but I mean, plankton has the ability to change the temperature and all sorts, so they might have already arrived and had a chat with the big guns down below instead. But if they do come for us, that could be a reason. I said to him as well, it'd be more likely we'd end up with aliens coming here as refugees because there's a problem on their home planet, like they've ruined it, or they've blown it up, or they've used everything up and they need our help. I got that kind of from films like District 13, is it? Or District 9, District 7, I can't remember the name of the film. I'm mixing up with districts from Hunger Games here in my head, but the one with the people they all call prawns and they put them in a district in South Africa because they've all crash landed and they're stuck. That's a great film, and that's the sort of thing that I could see being more plausible because they could be like, oh, we've just been floating around trying to find somewhere, your planet's pretty spot on, let's go there. Running down my list, Stargate was the only other thing I could think of. If they didn't use ships, they just used gates, and they were taking people as hosts, and they were able to just become warmongers through that. That would be a different scenario altogether. I'm thinking purely shipbound. It's impossible. I just don't see it happening. I said to him, I reckon, I think what started the conversation was he mentioned aliens. I asked him if he thought we would ever see aliens in his lifetime, because I'm convinced we will in mine. And he was just like, I hope not. And he went through a whole reason why, like I've already covered. But I'm convinced that we'll at least see evidence. We'll at least suddenly come across remains or some sort of technology or some sort of message, and we'll be like, oh my God. And from there it'll roll. I wouldn't be surprised if it already happened. I might do a video at some point in the future about conspiracies and stuff like that, because I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of thing had already happened. There's lots of reasons to cover it up, whether they think people will go nuts, which I just don't see. I don't see people going nuts. I don't see how it would affect people enough for them to go nuts. If they just said, oh, by the way, we know this whole species of people from Saturn, we've been speaking to them for 100 years now, where do you think curved TVs come from, and stuff like that, I don't know, we've been borrowing their tech. Are people just going to suddenly go, "Wah!" and start burning buildings down? No, they're not. They're not going to suddenly want to start fighting the aliens. They're just going to be like, whoa, I did wonder how you managed to get a TV to curve without breaking the glass. That is weird. Yeah, I just don't see what the downside is. I'm worried that people might freak out about religion, but even the church has already thought up ways around that. They've always just said the Bible doesn't say you only did it on one planet. I do worry how we'd react in terms of going there and going, hang on a minute, you can't worship Bleeblop, you got to worship God, and that sort of thing. That would be a bit odd, because they might start telling us we've got to worship Bleeblop and that sort of thing, and they might have more compelling evidence that suggests that they're right somehow. It all just seems like that would probably be messy nonsense we'd have to worry about later on, but I just don't. I think a little bit more faith, I reckon we'd be fine. Genuinely reckon that some people might go a bit mental with fear, but the majority of normal people would just be like, cool, okay. And I can't wait for that to happen. I really want to just wake up one day and be like, oh my God, they finally did it. Because then there's more questions. I feel like all the questions that are worth asking, we've asked and we haven't got answers for. But that'd be more questions there then. And they might have answers for them. And that'd be the best thing of all. Because they might be able to say, oh yeah, we saw what happened when, where you came from, what it was. We've been watching this planet for years, whatever. We know what happened to the dinosaurs. We saw what happened with, I don't know, this whole... We've got it on tape. Do you want to see the tape of when the Romans conquered Europe? We've got it all recorded. We were just watching from the moon. I don't know. It'd be awesome. I'm rabbiting a bit now, so I'm going to stop. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe I've got some plot holes in my thoughts about how they're not going to eat us, enslavers, or steal all our resources. Why would they want to? Let me know why. Can you think of any other reason why they might want to kill us all? I'm kind of convinced that Bosco's been thinking about it too much from whatever cover. I don't know where he got it from. I don't know what put it in his head. I've obviously added to some of his ideas a little bit. I'm not saying that my 5-year-old sat there and went through some of these things in that much detail. I've gone deeper into them in my head after talking to him. Most of my conversations were much fewer words with just much more. There'd be no reason for them to do that because X, and he's just gone, oh, okay. He's laying up there just wrapped up in his bedsheet waiting for his mum to come and talk to him because she's out for a run. So he's all right. I've calmed him. That's ghosts and aliens we've got rid of the fear of so far. Trying to convince him that spiders aren't scary either, but they look so freaky that I just don't know what the argument's going to be there really, but I'll get it one day. I'll sort him out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, watch more videos. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you tomorrow.